Warning, warning, a production incident has occurred. Warning, warning, a production incident has occurred.
Well, I did it again. 2 weeks after being in the doghouse for buying a new grill, I made some fantastic things on that grill. Made some Chilean steak with pepper sauce, made some saffron chicken tikka, and it got me out of the doghouse. And then a coworker of mine from Spain sent me a picture. She had made this incredible dish called paella. And I was intrigued. I had to try it. So thanks, Elena. I'm back in the doghouse. So once I put this thing together, we're going to be making some paella today. So greetings and welcome back to the Galley of the Sun. I'm going to do my darndest to make a very excellent paella today to get me out of the doghouse. Paella is the national dish of Spain. It's typically done with seafood, but you can do a bunch of different proteins. Today we're going to do ours with shrimp, lobster, Spanish chorizo, and chicken thighs. But first thing I need to do, now that I've got my paella cooker set up, is to get my brand new pan seasoned. So, my 20-inch pan, I'm going to get a thin coating of vegetable oil all over this, and then we're going to get it on the burner, get the burner turned on, and get that burned off. Do that a couple different times, then we'll be ready to start making the paella. You want to make sure it's a very, very light coat on the side that the burners are going to see. So the best way to do that is to apply your oil to a paper towel and then apply it to your pan. This is going to keep our pan from rusting in the future, and if the girls allow me to survive, I want that because I want to be able to use this again. This cooker I got from Amazon. It set me back about 120 bucks. One thing you have to be careful about is you do need to get the regulator hose because especially if you're in the US, you want to make sure that you can make the connections between your propane bottle and your paella cooker. Pan goes on, we'll give that about 10 minutes or so. We'll see after the seasoning's done and we're back in the kitchen getting ready to make this incredible dish. So now we have the pan seasoned, it is time to do the rest of the preps. I've done some of it already, the simple stuff that isn't special. I have here Spanish chorizo, 8 ounces worth, divided into 2 4-inch portions. Got it cubed up. Now, chorizo, regular Mexican chorizo, way different than Spanish chorizo. Spanish chorizo is cured, and it's more like salami or pepperoni in consistency, to where Mexican chorizo is basically raw meat that has been seasoned real well. So make sure you get the right stuff. I have about 10 cloves of garlic that is very thinly sliced. I have a sweet onion that has been finely diced. And I have 2 red bell peppers that I've finely diced. Pretty regular ingredients over there. There are some special ingredients you want for your paella. You want a very good broth. You can use chicken broth, but if you can get this stuff, which is a paella base, you definitely want to. We have Spanish smoked paprika, which I ordered off of Amazon, and then the rice. You can't use just any rice, and you definitely can't use long grain rice. You want to use either bomba rice or specifically paella rice, which I got here from Spain via Amazon again. And then we're going to put some San Marzano tomatoes in there. And then the last thing is saffron. If you can get Spanish saffron, get that. If it isn't specifically Spanish saffron, we have a fix for that. Most of the world's saffron comes from Iran. There, it is sun-dried. In Spain, Spanish saffron is toasted. So, to give us that Spanish saffron taste, we have a piece of foil here. I need 1.5 teaspoons of saffron threads, which I'll tell you what, is very difficult to ascertain, so you just sort of eyeball it. You do want to be relatively close. 1, saffron, incredibly pungent. And number 2, it is the most expensive spice in the entire world. So I did order some Spanish saffron from Amazon, but sadly it's not going to be here for another 2 days. Get my 1.5 teaspoons of saffron into my foil packet here, and then we're just going to fold this and make ourselves a foil envelope. Nice and flat. That saffron spread out. Bring this side in. So as always, down below in the description are all of the ingredients, their amounts, and the directions, and specifically what I used in my recipe here. In the instructions it says, get a skillet on medium heat, because we're going to end up toasting this. We're going to get the skillet up to medium heat, and then let this sit on one side for about 10 seconds. Flip it, let it sit on the other side for 10 seconds, and then bring it out. And that's going to give us our toasted effect of Spanish saffron. However, I'm going to use a Dutch oven in a later step. I haven't used anything in it yet, so that's what I'm going to use. So that's why I'm using a Dutch oven instead of the skillet. I recommend you do the same. Minimize the dishes you have. So we'll get that up to medium heat. We'll let it go for about 3 to 5 minutes, get it nice and toasty, and then 10 seconds on each side. Then we'll move on to the next step and start preparing the proteins. Now let's start working on our proteins. The next thing we're going to deal with is our chicken thighs. So I have 10 guests today, so I have 5 chicken thighs here. We're going to take those, the bones going this way, we're going to cut them in half, which is much easier said than done. Once I have those cut in half, I'm going to use my sharp knife here and trim off the excess skin. Now, could you use boneless, skinless? You could, but we've talked about this before. The fat that's under the skin and connected to it and the bone itself is going to give you a lot of flavor. You don't want to give that up. So excess skin out of the way. There's my chicken thigh. There we go. Repeat that 4 more times. Now I have my knives and cutting board cleaned. I got my 10 half chicken thighs here. The Dutch oven that we toasted our saffron in is still hot. I have some pork lard ready. You can use cooking oil if you want, but I'm gonna get some pork lard in there, and then we're going to brown off 4 ounces of our chorizo, which is half of what we have. We're gonna do that until the chorizo gets nice and crispy, and the fat in there renders and leaves us an incredibly flavored oil to cook our chicken in. So here we are at the stove, got the pork lard. Get a good spoonful of that in there. A couple tablespoons probably. Get that spread around and melted, and get our chorizo in. Gonna keep that chorizo moving so we don't burn it, because that pan was already hot after we toasted our saffron. And once we see it starts getting crisped up, slotted spoon goes in, chorizo comes out, chicken goes in. Now we have that delicious flavor of the rendered pork fat and seasonings of the chorizo in with our pork lard. Chicken goes in. I'm going to put it skin side down first. And we're going to let that go for about 7 or 8 minutes. So for the rest of the proteins, my shrimp, it is already shelled and deveined. If you haven't done that, do that. Makes your life a lot easier. You can leave your tails on for presentation if you want. It's up to you. Then the lobster. So we're going to take the lobster, use scissors, cut along the shell straight down towards the tail, flip it over, do the same on that side, and then take a knife and cut them in half. Chicken's been skin side down for about 7 minutes now. I'm going to give it a flip, give it another 7 or 8 minutes, and then we're on to the next step. My chicken's been cooking for about 15 minutes. Now we're going to get this out of the pan. Set it on a wire rack here. So now on the bottom of the pan we have the pork lard we started out with, the incredible juices from the chorizo, from the rendered fat and the spices. Now we have the chicken fat rendered off, and some of the delicious flavorings from that bone. Now that all the chicken is out, in goes the paella stock. Or if you're using chicken stock, whatever you're using. Be careful, because there's oil in here, so pour slowly. So we're going to get that all stirred up and brought to a boil. This is the last cooking step we have inside. My broth is now boiling. Now we're going to add in the saffron. Going to carefully get our saffron out, heat down to a simmer, the saffron into our grubby little paw. Then we're going to break those threads down just a little bit, crush them, and then into the broth. And from this point, we're just going to keep this warm. The director's preparing the lobster as we talked about before, so let's pack up and go outside. See you there. All right, here we are, ready to start the cook outside. Here's how I came up with this recipe. So Elena told me about paella. I was intrigued, so I watched a YouTube video of a cook I trusted, watched his entire video of how he cooked paella, copied down the recipe and saved it. Then I watched about 10 other ones, and whenever I saw something that I liked or ingredient I liked, I would add that into the recipe, change the ratios and everything. So once I got done with this recipe and I sent it back to Elena, because she is Spanish, she's an expert, asked her what she thought. She said, "Oh my gosh, Mike, that's very complex." That's how we roll here at the Galley of the Sun. So hopefully this goes well. My first time making paella, doing a complex recipe. So, got the paella pan, let's get this thing lit. All right, both burners are lit. Let's go to cooking. First of all, we're going to throw down a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. Forgive the sweating, but I shouldn't be sweating today. It is a balmy 99 degrees here in the Valley of the Sun, way below what we're used to. It's getting up to 107 today, so we'll warm up as we go. All right, my oil is shimmering, so now goes the second half of my chorizo in there. Why am I doing it this way? Because I want that rendered fat and those spices to flavor the vegetables, which are going in next. We'll get those moved around just to make sure they're not sticking. Cook that just long enough until we start smelling those fats and spices rendering out. Now, I haven't talked a whole lot about paella. One of the signatures of this dish is the crusty bottom that you're going to get. The rice is going to get crunchy on the bottom and incredible. That's what you want. Some of this is like stir fry in that you need to have everything ready so you can rapidly move through it. But stir is a four-letter word when you're talking about paella, because to get that socarrat, that crispy bottom, once we get the rice in the liquid, we are not stirring again. And then we're running that fine line between getting the great crispiness and burning it, which we don't want. All right, I'm happy with those oils. Now in goes in the onions, peppers, and garlic. So what makes this dish work is that type of rice, that bomba rice or paella rice that we're using in there. It is known for soaking up an incredible amount of liquid, which in this case is going to be filled with flavor. So really the rice is the star of this dish, even though we're going to have lobster, we're going to have shrimp, we're going to have chicken, got chorizo. It's been cooking for a bit. We're going to give it a good healthy pinch or two of salt and pepper and keep stirring. All right, our onions and peppers and garlic have been cooking for 3 or 4 minutes. Now goes in our tomatoes. And you can use diced tomatoes if you want, but I absolutely love San Marzano tomatoes, so I have the whole tomatoes. So as I add these, I'm going to crush them up in my hand, because I also like the feeling. It's therapeutic. And sometimes it squirts all over the damn place, so don't wear a white shirt if you do this. For the record, it's about 5 San Marzano tomatoes to make a cup. I'm also going to add a bay leaf. In goes the Spanish paprika, about 2½ teaspoons, and a bay leaf as soon as I find where I put it. Oh, I already put it in there. There we go. So you're going to get this stirred up. You're cooking this just until most of the liquid is gone. So as I said before, it's about 100 degrees out here. I got my grandson with me. He is playing camera runner. I'm swapping out my 2 cameras as one overheats. It goes inside, brings out the second one, and then we keep swapping so we can keep filming, which makes this challenging because you do a lot of things quickly. All right, I'm happy where that is. Now in goes a cup of a dry white wine, and we're going to cook that basically until the liquid is pretty much gone. We're also going to add back that first half of chorizo. Oh my God, this is smelling incredible. All right, most of that wine's gone. Now we're going to add the chicken back in. Well, you know what? First I'm going to add the rice in, get this all mixed up, and get that rice toasted a little bit. Then we'll add our chicken back in. That is the last stir we're going to do. Now we're going to get the chicken back in there. Get it nestled around in some sort of pattern. It looks pretty pretty. Now we're going to carefully pour in our paella base with the saffron in it. Now, depending on how sturdy your paella cooker is, be very careful with this step. I have read about disasters happening at this step. I'm pretty confident with mine, but I'm going to be ready. We're going to gently shake the pan to even that rice out, because from this point on, no more stirring. Got to build up that socarrat level on the bottom. So just gently agitating it, keep an eye on where you're going. I have some uncovered rice right there that I don't like. So make sure that gets submerged. All right, that didn't count as stirring. That was not stirring. All right, now we're gonna let it set for about 15 to 18 minutes. We're gonna keep a close eye on it, because if it loses the liquid too soon, we can add a little bit more in there and go a little bit longer. But you don't want to lose the liquid too early, then you're going to burn the bottom and lose your socarrat. This is exciting. Stay tuned. So now the rice has been cooking for about 15 minutes. Now we're going to get our lobster nestled in there. And then we're going to add our shrimp. And get that pushed down into the rice so it gets cooked. So we're going to give that another 5 to 8 minutes until my shrimp start looking opaque. And then we're going to cover with foil and let it set for about 15 minutes. Then it's time to eat and see if we got the socarrat right. All right, we decided to finish it inside. It's got up to 104 outside. Standing over this thing, I was sweating my you-know-what off. So let's get it finished. So the 15-minute rest is done. Our shrimp are all looking opaque. So we're good there. Now the finishing touches. We're going to drizzle some olive oil. We're going to tuck in our lemons. I'm used to cooking Mexican. That's limes. Spanish, lemons. This almost looks like I know what I'm doing. Thanks, Elena. Though I do have to say, I got the putting the shrimp that way with their tails sticking up, got that from Chef Tom of the Sauce All Things Barbecue channel. I did a lot of research on this. All right, parsley. Give it some green zing. Now we're gonna get some pictures and then we're ready to taste this and see how I did. I do so hope that I've been pronouncing socarrat right. Socarrat. I'll go back and watch a video after this and probably figure out I've been hosing it up the whole time. Forgive me, the crispy rice layer on the bottom is what I've been trying to refer to. All right, let's see if I got the socarrat right and see what the grandkids think of this incredible dish, the national dish of Spain. Got some chicken, got some rice there. Turn it over and see. Oh, yeah, there's a little bit of crispy in there. Okay, I may not got the perfect socarrat, but I have some in there. All right, kids, let me know what you think. Probably the best paella you've had today.
We haven't had any paella today.
There you go. So first of all, the shrimp, what do you think? Okay. Belle's trying the chicken.
Hot.
Very tasty.
Very tasty. How about the rice? They get a little bit of chorizo in there, those little cubes. There you go. Don't eat your hair. Well,
Rice and that chorizo go really well together.
Good, good. All right. And Bill's trying the lobster in a very unconventional way. And?
It is good. I like the texture and the taste, but it's a little too chewy.
Oh, the lobster? Okay. Well, there you go. Hey, mostly a win with the kids. I hope you enjoyed what you saw today. Definitely give us a thumbs up if you liked it. Make sure you mash that subscribe button. Thank you so much for joining us. And until we see you next time, fair winds and following seas.